join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello everybody, it's nice to have a crowd here. Next thing on the agenda is a public comment. Scenario where citizens can make comments that are non-agenda items. We'd like to limit that to 5 minutes. Is there anybody that wants to speak? Come up and sit down.
Just checking on an update on the nuisance on 6950 Otto Road.
Whose responsibility is that?
K.S.A. I sent an email to him after you were here before. I haven't heard anything back since then.
Okay.
You can contact them directly.
Okay. Do you have their information?
Yeah.
Okay. And then along those lines, I've been in contact with the sheriff's department, and they said that this is a county issue on the using the right of way as a parking lot and to store trash and debris on the corner where we directly pull out of the driveway. And I have pictures, but
I've seen that there. That's a matter of state law, but the commission doesn't have any authority to direct the sheriff on how to handle investigation or.
well, I can try talking to him again, but he said it's a county issue, not a.
He's an elected official in the county, so it would be state law that he'd have to enforce.
Okay.
We have no ability to enforce the state law, but he does. So.
Do you not have authority to regulate the debris and stuff that's just trash in the right of way?
I'd have to ask our county councilor. I don't believe we could regulate the sheriff. Sure.
No, I understand that.
Well, so what are you wanting done?
I just want to be able to see when we pull out of our driveway on a corner.
So.
I think it's two different issues there, it sounds like.
Of course, the commission, there isn't anything the commission can do that helps or hinders that, but you're wanting something moved.
Most definitely.
And
I mean, it's a safety issue if no other type of issue.
I don't disagree with that.
What if it's on
What is our nuisance ordinance?
road property?
Well, there are two different things on what the nuisance ordinance says, and which doesn't deal with property located on the right of way, but the Chapter 8 of Kansas statutes annotated have the rules of the road, and one of those involves the placement of really anything on the right of way. The statute allows, in case law, allows for those items to be moved if necessary, but the commission wouldn't be the people that would move them. The sheriff could very well be involved with that, and any K.S.A. could be involved with making reports about that. So,
does any K.S. have the authority to have it moved?
To just move it themselves?
Yeah, or have it create a fine or whatever that might be?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say because we do have a Kansas Supreme Court case that says that obstructions that are placed in the right of way are a common nuisance and any person may abate them. But I wouldn't want to give the direction to the public to just go out and make the determination yourself as to what's in the right of way, where the right of way is, and how it should be dealt with. But
I think that's why he's here.
well, yeah, right. But I'm not going to say, hey, go move it yourself. That's the any K.S. contact info, phone number, and email.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Anything else?
I do. I understand that matters of personnel are, that you can't discuss those. I think as a taxpayer, and many taxpayers were quite appalled at what happened in the last commission meeting with the firing of the department head. I went back I'm not sure how far, and reviewed minutes to see if there was a, like a personnel session to where maybe somebody needed to take different direction from the county. I didn't see anything for an employee, let alone the department head. I mean, there's only a few options of what happened, and it just doesn't look good. And as a taxpayer, I mean, I'm just shocked, and I'm even more shocked that it was a unanimous vote. But what you can talk about is, so where are we going from here that's going to be better than it was before?
Okay,
You
so,
said that you
so
wanted to take a
we're
different
going to talk
direction.
about personnel
Sure,
issues.
I understand that.
We've posted a job to hire a new superintendent of Roads and Bridge. We've appointed Mark Gentry as the interim director. So that's where we're headed right now.
Okay. But is there a plan that things are going to be better than they were before, or you just?
Absolutely. Well, we are going to set up the objectives of the road bridge superintendent when they're hired.
Okay. Is the noxious weed division suspended for now, or
No,
how is that?
it's not. It's
There's somebody.
some of them can sell chemicals except for Tordon. So we're working through how we're going to do the Tordon.
Okay, so you can sell everything but the Tordon. Okay, and that'll come into play
As soon as we can get something worked out.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. We have two proclamations today. This one here is from the Emergency Medical Services. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and that members of the emergency medical team are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rates of all those experiencing sudden illness and injury. Whereas emergency medical services have traditionally served as the safety net of America's health care system. Whereas emergency medical teams consist of emergency physicians, emergency nurses, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, firefighters, educators, administrators, and others, and approximately 2/3 of all emergency medical providers are volunteers. And a member of the emergency medical service team, whether career or volunteer, engaged in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas Americans benefit daily from the knowledge and skills of these highly trained individuals, and it's appropriate to recognize the value of the accomplishments of emergency medical services provided by designating Emergency Medical Service Week. And whereas injury prevention and the appropriate use of EMS systems will help reduce national health care costs. Now, therefore, we, the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County, State of Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19th to the 25th of 2019 as Emergency Medical Services Week. In Atchison County, encourage all residents to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities adopted and approved by the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County on the 14th of May, 2019. I can't say enough how much emergency service means to us, and quite frankly, I hope I don't have to use your services. But I'm glad to have this team available and to do it. And we got to recognize too that the fire department, the City of Atchison Fire Department, and the volunteer firemen are very part of it, many times being the first responders. So it's a county service, but we also have cities and volunteers work alongside.
I'd like to mention the rescue squad, who wasn't available to attend today, but Wes's organization also volunteered and responds with first responders that are medically trained. So both the city fire department, our county rescue squad, and the rural firefighters all participate in this activity. And I'd like to recognize my crew since they're here. This is just the on-duty crew. But Michelle Betancourt is part-time paramedic. Vicky Dukart, who is a full-time EMT, Jessica Hausch, who is our full-time office administrator and is an emergency medical responder, and Captain Liggett, who is a paramedic and a full-time officer for our organization. And then Chief Drop and Mr. Rasmussen are also here from the fire department too, both medical responders.
Okay.
I'd like to thank all of them.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do I need a motion to sign this or?
I would make a motion that we approve the Medical Emergency Service Week with proclamation.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. I guess we can sign 2 copies. One will go to the EMS and one will be posted in the post office, the courthouse.
The courthouse here. And I would like to get a picture as well, please.
Okay. So where do we want to take the picture?
Anywhere right over here
Okay,
would be
Here's the
fine.
whiteboard.
We want to take it with all the people at the
Thank you.
So everybody's got to get the picture. Part of your duty. Okay, everybody in here? Okay, so maybe I should be handing this. Okay. Okay.
And then I drop it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hey, what happened?
Chainsaw.
Oh, wow. Did you have to call EMS?
No, I went through close to the hospital. So. Close, but thank you for coming and for all you do.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I have another proclamation. And I really was really amazed when I was down to an informational breakfast that they had at the local Atchison County Health, all the things they do for the people in Atchison and Atchison County. But so I don't want to leave Atchison County out of it. But it's a real big asset. It's one of our crowning jewels in our community. So they're going to celebrate 100 years. And they're going to be down it. You can have a.
We're going to be on the mall, and we're going to be celebrating 100 years. We've had some community sponsors come in with a bounce house. The block party trailer from Wall of Atchison is going to be providing that for us, and the grills. We're going to be providing hot dogs and cake and refreshments to our entire community at no charge, and discussing everything that we do for our community. And we have memorabilia out from early 1917 and how we were established.
Okay.
So we're excited.
It sounds exciting.
Yes.
Okay, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. It's the 100th year anniversary of Atchison County Health Department proclamation. Whereas the forefathers of Atchison County recognized the need to protect health and well-being of its citizenry, did establish the Atchison County Public Health Association, May 17, 1919, whereas Atchison County Public Health Association evolved into the Atchison County Health Department, which is a member of the Northeast Kansas Multi-County Health Department, whereas the Atchison County Health Department has played a significant role in promoting increased life expectancy by helping Atchison community prevent, prepare for, withstand, and recover from a full range of health threats, including disease, outbreaks such as measles, natural disasters, and disasters caused by human activity. And whereas the Atchison County Health Department has continued to play a role in reducing the spread of infectious disease through surveillance and control measures driven by scientific and technological advances, and whereas the Atchison County Health Department has performed as a valuable team, members working with other community stakeholders in addressing the health concerns of the Atchison community, and whereas Atchison County Health Department recognizes the ever-changing complexity of health care in both the local and global community, and recommit to preventing and promoting and protecting to improve the health of all. And now therefore the Atchison County Commissioners, by virtue of authority vested in the Commission by the law of Atchison County, the state of Kansas, do proclaim May 17, 2019 as Atchison County Public Health 100th Anniversary Day, adopted and approved by the Board of Commissioners of Atchison County on this 14th day of May 2019. I make a motion to proclaim this.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
A little history for you guys as well. The backdrop of our establishment was World War I and the outbreak of the Spanish flu, where over 12,000 Kansans died that year, where someone healthy could wake up that morning and be dead by nightfall. And so our forefathers deemed it necessary that we had protection in place. Therefore, we were established. So, pretty neat.
It's nice to see the enthusiasm in that group. Okay. So, just Cameron or me?
Same place would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
There's a lot of time. We talked a little bit of the Spanish flu there. There was, in my family tree, there was a family of 4 boys. 2 of them were drafted to go to World War I, and the other 2 stayed home. And I heard the mother was just news the 2 that she sent to the war were never going to come home. They came home, and the 2 that stayed at home died of the flu. So that's how relevant that,
Right.
when you talked about that 1919, that would have been it.
Thank you guys for your
Thank
time.
you, Cameron.
Thank you.
Do you have plenty of people Monday or Friday night for working out or anything?
I believe so.
Okay, I plan on being there. So
What is the time again?
5 to 7 p.m.
5 to 7 p.m. Okay.
All right. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Okay, Atchison County minutes. I assume we've had a chance to review the minutes.
okay.
Can I have a motion to approve?
Also move.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
It's moved and seconded. I assume you're ready to vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Okay, Ray Ladd, Atchison County Extension Office budget request.
Thank you, and I think 30 minutes was somewhat what we kind of talked about. That still is agreeable, and if Mr. Gehring wants to
I was
share,
going to say he got some public.
or you tell me.
And he'll have to do the public comment at the end.
Yeah,
Correct, Mr.
yeah.
Gehring?
Yeah, we already had the public comment, so we'll have another public comment opportunity at the end.
Okay. Well, there again, as Extension comes forward with our annual budget, and you receive electronically the paperwork, and so I do have a duplicate copy of that you've already received of that, as well as programming. So from an Extension standpoint today, just briefly, the board comes forward to present their budget. We'll share, as agents, we'll share a little bit, and we'll have speaking from our board members, volunteers. And in that, we'll talk about programming. We'll probably talk about the aspirations, as what the commissioners suggested in your previous note. Then we will talk a little bit about districting, because that is still kind of an ongoing topic, concern. We'll give you an update on that. And if you have questions, certainly do ask. We'll keep it informal. And then even after we share, if at some point in time you have questions, certainly get a hold of the Extension office, and we'll answer those questions as best we can. But, introduction-wise, of course, Diane Nielsen, your Family and Consumer Science agent. From the board, Janet Sedich is the board member. Ricky Tolliver, Ricky Canning is always Tolliver.
It's always Tolliver.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, that's great. Then in the back row is Kent Sims, and then Larry Littner. And if they have input, they will. They're good board members and want to come forward and support Extension and to share. So there again, from a programming standpoint, as we agents have a few minutes to share, If you think back to what was shared in the program overview, the different agencies that we as Extension do try to work with, as we are educational in our purpose, working with agencies, businesses, individuals, clubs, organizations, in just what we can do as Extension to supplement them. If they've got an audience we can come service, we'll try to do that as best we can. Some of the activities that were maybe listed would be like the 409 has a school garden for the 5th grader. So Extension will tend to come, will help the students plant seeds. Then also Mrs. Small at 377. All of the grade schoolers are exposed to agriculture through her spatial programming in science and education, and she will make it very known that she uses 4-H material, which comes from Extension, which would be that USDA curriculum. So she's using that science-based information as she works with the students on a spatial interest in agriculture, sciences that relate to agriculture, and then ultimately, where does their food come from to have an understanding and appreciation for that. So that would be an instance of a program, numbers-wise, as we think about the numbers contacting for 5th graders here in 409, that's like 120 students will potentially reach several times during the year. Mrs. Small is reaching 240, so it is that illustration that Extension is all being multiplied, not only by what I do for reaching within the Mrs. Small, so the county are also taking the Extension methods and sharing that. Then just briefly on the agriculture side, last year, 2018, was a big emphasis on the herbicide dicam. So Extension, K.S.A. embraced that, was doing the education across the state. Atchison County, we hosted with Jefferson County a public meeting to train farmers. From the Atchison County context, there's roughly 60 farmers that attended that one meeting. So then, from a number standpoint, if you put that 60 at each one of those farmers, roughly represents at least 500 acres. So then you come up to 30,000 acres potentially that are receiving information to be used, and that's research-based information coming from Extension. So understand that you, as an Atchison County and Atchison County Extension, we are supported by K-State. K-State Research and Extension, and we are utilizing their research information in the programming that we do. So just a couple illustrations there. When you have questions, stop me, stop whoever, and we'll get going. I'll turn the floor over to Diane a little bit, and then we'll have the volunteers and board members share some things on the aspirations and programs.
So, kind of as I think about an extension agent, what's your job? And some people always think county fair, and then they say, what must be really bored the rest of the time? And I always say that's kind of the easiest week because it's kind of an organized community event. But extension kind of is woven into the community and sometimes kind of hidden, I think. But one is our jobs as agents is to do some professional development. So I can tell you numbers, statistics of our community, as well as community members and partnerships. Probably the other one is partnering in that community, providing some leadership early on. So many years ago, I came before the county commissioners when the first year county health rankings came out, and I talked to them about that. Today you'll say live well, and that's a good thing with extension, but our job is really to get that community buy-in to support programming. And then probably the third area is that education, and that takes on a lot of different forms. It can be, programming. So I might train people at Taco John's and Dairy Queen about how to handle food safely so they meet the Kansas regs to do that. This morning I had a phone call of somebody who was doing graduation party on Sunday and was asking me, how do I handle this food safely? Last 2 weeks ago, I was at some grade school, and they had a health fair, and I chose to do hand washing versus sanitizer because we've gotten really lax and say hand sanitizer is just as effective as hand washing. And yes, the research says hand washing is the important piece. So primarily, if I summarize my programming that I focus on, one would be food safety, Another one would be nutrition and chronic disease prevention. So you as county commissioners may not realize it, but what Kansas is going on, we kind of wrapped up today. Michelle's been doing that, and I think there's about 40 people in the county here that's involved with it. It's helping them over 8 weeks change their behaviors, so they're eating fruits and vegetables and exercising, so they're long-term less heart disease, cancer. You as county commissioners are going to benefit from that because it also shows workman comp probably going to go down as employees are more active and healthier types are going to be at work more often. So there's lots of benefits. Another program is, of course, that youth development. I like to think of it as leadership and citizenship. And maybe if I could summarize real quickly, it's helping prepare kids for school, work, and life so they can be those responsible citizens. And then probably the last area that I've stumbled into, probably it's been 6 or 7 years ago because I was doing a lot of nutrition. I was asked to be involved in a grant writing situation because our kids in Atchison Public School were not making reading scores and we wanted to work elementary age. As I began looking at that statistic, what I really quickly found out is what happens in those preschool years. 85% of my brain is developed at that time. So it's soft skills, whether you're employing people, it's risky behaviors that if I have an adverse childhood risk, I'm going to be more likely, I'm going to die quicker. And so as I look at county statistics, in Atchison County, we die per 100,000, 9,000 days sooner than our peer counties in the state. So it's trying to take that information, work within the community through education and leadership to really improve long-term in the community. And so we're about not giving a man to fish, but teaching him to fish. And then we're going to ask him to go teach his neighbors how to fish because that's how we kind of ask people to repay the work. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on that. As a board member, I speak for the board, but they've got some things to say too. But I would like to say that as we look forward, looking for our aspirations for the future, we as a board need to be strategic in thinking about what do we need to do to help bring a better quality of life to this community, as all of us are interested in doing. And as she just mentioned and talked about, there are several areas that we really need some great improvement on, as you all know. We as Extension aren't going to do that by ourselves. But we feel like we play a key role and can play an even greater key role in addressing these issues and bringing the education and the research and the data and all of the skills development that needs to be brought together from Kansas State to not only our own group, but to all of the groups within this community who are working together. And you've probably got this sheet that shows a number of other community organizations here are working on the same thing. I'm not a native-born Atchison person. I was born in Leavenworth, but lived in Missouri most of my life. But I did notice, and I'm not being critical of this community, but I think we've got a lot of people here with their own areas of responsibilities, and they do a very good job of that. The thing we need to do even more on is to bring those together. And we were talking earlier about these two people, as they do their jobs, they are interfacing with college level people that are talking about their needs and what they're trying to do, but they're also talking about people who are talking about finding something to eat tomorrow or even a place to live. So we see the broad scope there, and we bring Kansas State information together, say what can we do to do that. We're going to leave behind this little brochure, which really brings us all together. And one of the key ones I think that I'm really interested in is the work that they are starting to do on helping with early childhood development. Like she mentioned, children who are living in homes of families who have got many things to worry about, a place to live, how to pay their bills. They're not taking the time that it needs to develop those children's minds at a very early age. They don't have books in their homes necessarily. The children don't hear the vocabulary that a child in another part of town or another house has these things available to. So for us to understand what the unmet needs are, we have done some research, and this little book indicates that. And it's very important. It says, when parents must concern themselves about food, housing, transportation, and work, or 2 or 3 part-time jobs just to survive and make ends meet. They don't have the extra time or money to buy the books to read to their children. Parents often model their parenting skills. Parents often model parenting skills that they experienced also as children. So this is a generational thing. We have all got to work closer together, and we feel we are going to play a key role in that as well to bring this to part. That being the case, a child, I will hear 3 million fewer words by age 3 than kids with college-educated parents. That's tragic that we've got a good number of children that are in that boat right here in this county. And 2 years later, when they enter kindergarten, they may not be able to read. And I know I've got grandchildren. I have a daughter, her daughter-in-law who's a teacher, and I've watched her raise our grandchildren in the respect that they are much farther ahead than a lot of the kids. I feel sorry for other kids that don't have that same opportunity. We have got to, as Extension, help elevate that interest and work with all the other organizations in this community and to bring the knowledge and the research that Kansas State can bring to this to help improve the overall quality of education and life in this county. So we can all grow this county and keep up with a lot of our neighbors who we desperately have kind of fallen behind on. So I've said enough, I think. I think they've got a couple more things here if we've got time, so to illustrate some other areas. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Larry.
Thanks for the opportunity. Extension is a real bargain in Atchison County and all over. We get so much for so little. And sometimes we still think of Extension, I tend to anyway, as the county agent, the county fair, and 4-H, mostly the rural people and some prop schools and that kind of thing. But what we're hearing Diane talk about, and Ray, public and individual food safety, boys and girls clubs. Diane's in Atchison all the time working with different groups that need her. They do all kinds of great work. Their resources are just about stretched to the point of exhaustion. I wanted to say just a little bit about one positive factor that works if they can do it. It's 15 years ago, the board that I'm on now invested in training Diane for grant writing techniques. She's been successful. She's bought about $500,000 in grants in 10 years into the Atchison community. One of the big ones that was really important was a book grant. Several years ago, book stood for believing in our kids, or opportunities for our kids. That brought in $300,000 to the community. Extension got about $50,000 of that to use. The rest went to schools and the rest of the other parts of the community. The $50,000 for Extension went into preschool programming. It went to Dare to Be You for new parent training. It went to summer programs for middle school. It went to farmers market. Joint effort with the library board. And the cash match for that grant that she used to get that was $6,000 in the Extension programming funds. It's not like they kick $6,000 into something new, but it's knowing what to marry up and what kind of programs they're already doing that could apply to this grant and bring it together. But that's a pretty good return on investment. Today, the Kansas Health Foundation is offering $25,000 grant opportunities for similar work. But our board and the staff are so taxed on resources that they literally don't have anything besides staff time to put up for a match. And if you know how granting programs work, and I'm sure you do, but they're scored, and some contributions are more valuable than others, and they don't put a high value usually on staff time. They want sweat in the game kind of stuff, like some actual program funds, and it doesn't necessarily take too many, but just little things. But but they don't have anywhere to go for little things, which you looked on that list of aspirations, they've got one vehicle with over 180,000 miles on it. They've got 30-year-old phone system and old computers and an office that they'd like to improve, and it's just really tight times for budgetary wise. This year is the first time in 20 years that they haven't had some kind of an assistive grant to operate with. I just conclude by saying these agents and our board are really anxious to get back to even more activity. And want to thank you, commissioners, for your time and consideration of extension's needs.
Thank you.
My name's Ricky, and I kind of want to talk to you guys about our aspirations, like what we really want to do, why we're here today. As we talked about these programmings, we're serving kids from preschool, even younger than preschool age, clear up to the adult in our community, every adult. And one of the programming that we would like to bring in is called Aging with Attitude Expo in our community, and provides education to seniors and their family regarding decisions related to health and medical housing, financial concerns. I mean, we're definitely in the era of an aging population. They talk about the baby boomers and those kind of things that are all hitting retirement age. And being someone that works in the medical field, I feel like that to me is very important in our community, that we educate people on things from retiring to Medicare, there's all sorts of advanced directives. Those are all educational programs that people in our community could really benefit from. The other thing we want to do is we want to be able to apply for these grants. And as he said, we have, if we can match some dollars, we can bring more money into our programming, which would be a wonderful way to get this Aging Expo going up and running, so we can bring that programming into our community.
I'd point out too, it's not matched dollar for dollar necessarily.
Yeah.
We just need a little bit to put in it with it.
Yeah, it's a little.
We haven't had lately.
If we can put in a percentage to be able to bring some of those dollars into our community, it's a huge benefit to our programming. We want to increase our volunteer base for a lot of things too, and we have a lot of wonderful volunteers. We're blessed with the agents that we have in our county. That being said, they're going to be probably hitting retirement age or thinking about it one of these days. And, we need to be thinking ahead as to what we can offer somebody new eventually that's going to come in. I think our budget aspirations, there's a lot of things we'd like to do with programming, obviously, but there's some basic needs that we need to meet for our agents and for our buildings, for our volunteers, for people that are coming in and helping us and working with them. Like you said, we have a 30-year-old phone system we got to do something about. There's so many things on this list. Relocation to a more modern, a safer facility, a better work environment for the people that are here. Replace office chairs and computer systems. These are basic necessities that we have to be in the game, essentially. They have to have printers and paper and a lot of vital pieces. They talked about a vehicle that's aging, and we're going to have to do something about that as well. We're obviously looking into the districting plan. We've been addressing that every meeting. We've discussed it as board members as what our next steps are in that, and I think that's going to be that's the goal for us. I think as a board, we've all decided that is the direction we're going. We're just in the hard process of developing that. I really think it's important that we can gain some financial stability for our organization and be able to put our good work out there for these people in our community to use. I think it's vital that we do that. Like you said, when you go to reading the statistics, there's a lot of need in our community. And I do want to say on programming, the other little tidbit was that, like I said, on this list, there's a lot of places that Diane and Ray go in and work that maybe don't necessarily You don't see it as extension, and so I always like to put that out there that the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, these are places that we're actively involved in that we don't necessarily, it's not necessarily seen on a daily basis. So I just kind of want to put that out there too, that just because maybe you don't see a big clover leaf slapped on it doesn't mean that it's not extension at work. So we're really appreciative for what we have in our community. We really are, and we'd really like to be able to continue that and grow. So thank you, guys.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Time's about up here. We just want to leave it that we know you guys have a tough job to do. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes to try to say where does all of the funds need to go to. We're in the same boat, of course, as well. As we look forward to our aspirations or maintaining what we've got to be very serious about how we spend our monies. But we also got to be very serious about that we do feel like that we are at a stage where we cannot continue to grow any. We're struggling now to basically maintain what we've got. So we want that kept in mind as you consider our proposals here. The districting is definitely something that's been on our minds. I was the president of the board a few years ago when we started working with Leavenworth County. We saw some real opportunities there. We were never able to get together with their commission side. You folks as a commission would take a step forward and say, yes, we're ready to go. It wasn't that they were waiting on us. We see there's got to be some other options, and we talk about this at every meeting. But we got to look forward now to, do we look at an existing district, or do we form our others maybe going north? We appreciate your feedback on that. We'd like to talk to it at depth to that you need to know what our thoughts are there. But we feel like that in itself does not solve your financial problems by any means, but it does help bring resources together that you can gain some efficiencies and that you can provide some additional manpower or people power to expand programs. So we are very strong supporters of the districting approach, and we feel like that it is in our future, but we've got to start moving forward now with that, and that's what we're discussing now to say what's our next steps. We want your input, and we hope we want your support on that. But anyway, if there's any questions left on this, we could talk all day here, but we'd be glad to entertain any questions you might have at this point.
How much is your request?
162,000.
That's 7,000 more than last year.
22 more, I think.
You said how much?
161,898 is the request. 21,890.
Okay.
Versus our request last year was more than 140. But just to compare it back to the 2019, we're sitting at 140. The capital outlay would be that other additional money that the commission has been holding for potentially improvement in vehicle.
Well, thank you for presenting it. We certainly take that into consideration. Do you have some? Do you want to?
Oh, I've got 2 sheets. I am going to leave with you additionally, and then.
I enjoyed reading your material.
Well, thank you. And those, okay. Yeah, we will. Janet, you've got one quote you wanted to share. We want you to make it worthwhile. We want you to give your moment of on record with the county commission.
Okay. You're never too old to set another goal
One group.
or to dream a new dream. C.S. Lewis. Pretty good guy.
And putting our proposal together, yes, we were serious about what we felt like we needed to move forward, and we will welcome your thoughts on that. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there, guys, you're in workstations. Give us a holler if you need more. And still on the district issue, I think you folks have some insight that maybe we are privileged to. So we can follow up on some of that discussion too. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
So Teresa, we did receive the information we requested.
I brought it in this morning and okay.
That's all we requested.
Oh, yeah. This year too? Oh,
That's 10.
You don't have the information we requested.
What's that, Jeff? I'm sorry.
We didn't get the information.
What information? The,
Michelle sent you a letter outlining what we needed. 990, IRS 990.
oh, IRS 190. I can email that to you probably this afternoon if I can get Gary Satters.
Yeah, could you come
Gary
back?
Satters, our financial administrator.
And then
So,
you need a copy of Michelle's letter. Maybe you could get all that, email it to us, and come back next week.
oh, sure. I just wondered, since we have our board members here, is there any way you could entertain a few minutes with us?
Well,
I hate to ask.
the thing is we asked for that in advance to have a chance to study it.
Oh, and so it was the IRS I-9, the
Well, there's a whole
501c3
letter.
verification, or?
I can go get a copy of the letter.
Yeah, well, I apologize, I didn't get that to you. I've got their 501c3, actually. I have it on one of those request forms.
But there was a substantial amount of information we asked for. So.
And then I do have, and every year I bring what the other funders are paying. I always give that out in the meeting. Is that okay or no? No?
Well, we need the information we asked for.
Oh,
And if
okay.
you want to provide other information, that's fine.
Okay.
So maybe we could schedule for next week. Can you give that all to us?
Okay. So no, there's no way since everyone's taken off to come that we could say anything.
I don't have the information.
Oh. Okay, you've got our numbers for the year, but that's not enough.
Well, we
You
asked
want
for
the
quite a bit of
IRS number? I've got the IRS number. Okay.
Michelle, get your copy of the letter.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for everybody coming in.
Well, I apologize, Jack.
Okay.
I do want
I think
to.
Michelle tried to get hold of this morning, but evidently.
I talked with her and I brought it in. So I brought in the information that I was giving out. So evidently that wasn't comprehensive
Okay.
enough.
We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Jack.
Okay, moving right along.
Is that 162 plus 5? Or is that 15?
I don't know whether that was inclusive of the,
Or that haven't even given them 5,000 to build
Yeah.
up for.
I think last year it was listed at 140 plus the 5, so they got 145 on there. But I don't know whether their request.
I think that they got 5 more than this. I don't know.
Probably.
Okay, we have some new business here. I have a purchase order from Road and Bridge for Kansas City Freightliner to realign and repair for truck number 85 in the amount of $7,052.80. Do I have a motion to approve the purchase order?
I shall move, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, as soon as you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, something else here. There's a letter from Gary Ham. So, road maintenance agreement between Ham Quarry and Atchison County. They gave Chairman Shealy sign agreement on behalf of the county.
I think Pat needs to review that.
I think we need to cover this when we have the. Then we have the option for the right of way, which I probably want to wait for Pat on that. Then we need to approve the plan for the community corrections in their grant process. So the chair would entertain a motion to do that.
Also move.
I'll second it.
It's been seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, so we ready to vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there was 2 parts to that.
Yeah, it was 2 points.
Okay, we just needed 1 vote for the 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, when Pat comes back, I got a couple things we can do here. So. Okay, Pat, I wanted to do this option to purchase right away for Janice E. Hankey, trustee of the
Yes.
Lawrence C. Hankey and Janice E. Hankey Joint Revocable Living Trust.
Right. That's an option agreement for purchase of the right of way after the exact amount is determined by the engineers. It's the agreement to sell in the future. You've approved several of them before.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
I so moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. It just needs the chair's signature.
Yes.
Okay, do you want me to give this to you or Michelle?
To Michelle, please.
Old and unfinished business before the board. County councilor update. I think we have a couple things from in regard to the Gary Hain.
Hand letter.
Oh, yeah, that's really just for your info. I talked to him again. I sent him he didn't have a copy of the agreement, so I sent him one with a request to get it signed and back, and that's really all.
Did you send that to all the commissioners? I don't remember seeing that.
No, I just put I just put the letter there. I certainly
Pass it around and then go ahead and send it either. So. Okay. Any other business? County councilor update.
Well, we had talked about having an attorney-client discussion sometime this afternoon. I don't know if you want to do that now or if you want to do that.
I think we probably should, but we'll give Greg a chance for public comment. We'll move ahead just a little bit. So, Greg, you talk about non-agenda items. If you keep it to 5 minutes, that really would be appreciated.
All right. Who's in charge of road and bridge now?
Mark Gentry.
Mark Gentry?
Yeah.
Okay, and Zeph had called me a couple weeks before he got terminated about figures on the road. He was doing up FEMA stuff. Did there be any more word on that? He never got back with me.
Any FEMA information would come from West Lansing. I don't think the state.
He called me. He said that he's working up on trying to see how much damage and everything was. So, I mean, I told him he had about 5 miles of road, but I never heard no more back from him on that.
I think you have to get an update from Wes.
Okay. And then I talked to Mr. Henderson a while back about a couple of nuisance orders. And have you heard anything about that?
No, and I'm smiling because just a few minutes ago I sent an email to them asking for an update about because someone else had asked about an update. K.S.A does the investigation of those. I can give you their contact information if you want to contact them directly.
Yeah, I'll come down and need it from you at your office.
Oh, I can text. I can text it to you.
Another thing I had on 230th and River Road, where the road's caved off. And then you got another one north of there by Dave Toll's gate. It's caving off. Those are county tubes. And my opinion, I talked to Mark Gentry, but they need to have extensions put on them. At least 10-foot extensions, so you can get something down there on the bank to hold the bank. The way they're at now, I mean, you can't get enough in there to hold the bank.
So you said you talked to Mark Gentry?
No, I need to about that. I mean, because F is gone. I brought this up early last fall, and nothing's gotten done yet. So, I mean, I don't want, they put a marker in the road, but somebody's still gonna drive off that one of these nights. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know where the one, but wouldn't the other one up by Dave Toll's we have to furnish one inlet to his place, but doesn't he have more than that one?
No, it's one, but where it's caving off, there's not enough room out there to put anything in there to hold it.
I know right down along River Road and the one that goes north, I'm aware of that, yeah.
But I mean, in my opinion, they need to have extensions. I mean, we just got through this morning putting on 4 extensions on 218 road. So, I mean, it had to be done. And, you know, caving off and losing the road, so. But that's all I had. I mean, I didn't know if anything had heard on the nuisance or whatever.
Okay, thanks for coming in, Greg.
All right.
I texted you that number.
You texted to me?
Yeah. You want to make sure you got it? Make sure
I
I got
gotta
it.
take my truck.
Did you get a hold of Joe Blow?
I didn't bring it, because why we go off.
If you don't have it, let me know.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so now we have Colin Gilbert, Eagle Scout Project. You're on, come up to the chairs. Well, they can see the back of your head. Come on up, Dad.
I'm a driver.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, yes. So last August, I came in and got approval to set it down here, and it took about almost another year to completely finish it. And as my dad's going to bring it in a few seconds, it's fully complete. It's able to take flags that need to be retired. There's an email address on it. When it's full, someone can email that address, and we'll come and pick up all the flags, and the Boy Scouts will dispose of the flags properly at our own ceremonies. So, I mean,
I gotta tell you, you did a great job.
Looks nice.
Very nice. You're doing a great service.
Thank you.
Can't
see it very well.
Has Joe Bell and you had a conversation exactly the location?
Well, it's so portable. I thought it was going to be mounted on the wall, but the way it is, it can be. Joe can put it wherever he sees fit.
The bulletin board right outside the door, it's going to be, if you're looking at the bulletin board, it's going to be on the right hand side. And he approved of that spot.
Sure.
So, if not, we can look at a different spot.
I can email here tomorrow.
Okay.
Tom's actually still here until 3. So
Looks nice.
Okay, so we probably have a picture. This is a great deal. So I think a lot of people in the community would love to see that. So I guess maybe as chairman, or maybe I'll stand by it. Maybe we could turn it so we
Turn it around and then have Colin with his dad or whoever.
That is really, really. And what rank is that?
Right.
Okay. So this is your Eagle project.
Yes. To obtain the rank of Eagle.
Sure. Okay. So when do you expect that to happen?
Hopefully
I actually
soon
had to
summer.
turn it sideways, just a little sideways, because I want to get the detail over here as well.
Yeah. That's a big accomplishment. Not everybody can do that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, cool. You guys just go ahead and install that?
Okay.
Thank you.
K.S.A.
Thank you.
Is there any plan on letting people even know that this is here, or is that part of it, or through the, I mean, an advertisement, that people will know about it?
I called the Globe. He's not available right now, so I'm gonna take some pictures and write up a little article for him, and he'll put it in the paper, and then I'll post it on Facebook just to put it out there just a little bit, so people can get a little.
Can we send that photograph to the Globe so they can use it if they so choose?
You
It was
may
Marcus
wanna
that you
write up a
talked
little
to?
article.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
You can leave it, and I'll have people with the Yeah.
Okay, leave it right there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Very nice job.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
It did turn out nice. A lot nicer than I anticipated.
Oh wow, this is a beautiful job.
It's bigger than I thought.
That'll hold a lot of flags.
Okay, moving right along. We have, really need for executive session?
Yes. On an attorney-client matter.
Okay.
How long?
Should we start at 30 minutes?
30?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 2 p.m. for consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of an executive session at 2:30 p.m. in the commission room, first floor courthouse, and those present will be the 3 commissioners and Pat Henderson, County Council.
I second that motion.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes 3-0. We're now in executive session.
Okay.
Okay, we're out of the executive session. The chair will entertain a motion.
Yeah, I'll move that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session at 2:30 p.m. for a consultation with an attorney for the public body, which would be deemed privilege in the attorney-client relationship as allowed by K.S.A. 75-4319B2, and that the purpose of the closed session is to protect the confidentiality of the discussion, and that the board come out of executive session at 2:45 p.m. in the commission room, first floor courthouse, and those present will be the 3 commissioners and Pat Henderson, County Council.
I second that. Mr.
All in
Chairman.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are now in executive session.
Okay. We're back up.
We're back in session.
Okay, we're back in session. Any other business? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also moved.
I second that, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think you guys take the time, but she's got it now. I give you my opinion. This was a
I wouldn't until we're off.
Did it?
We're off.
I'll remember.
Just that cemetery.